The world had gone utterly still again, as if holding its breath after the sky's shudder. Only the faint crackle of cooling air lingered, a quiet static drifting through the broken field. Leora steadied herself, eyes fixed on the horizon. The shape she'd glimpsed still moved, slow, deliberate, half swallowed by the thinning fog. Every instinct told her to run, but something deeper, older, urged her to stay. She adjusted the strap of her satchel and began forward. The ground steamed faintly where the frost had broken. Meltwater traced pale veins through the soil, threading toward the figure ahead. As she walked, the air changed again, not warmer exactly, but denser, charged, as though she was stepping through invisible membranes. The shape grew clearer. A tall figure wrapped in what might once have been a coat, its fabric tattered and crusted with ice. It moved with a strange, deliberate rhythm, not staggering, not lost. A person who knew exactly where they were going. Leora slowed her pace. "Hello?" Her voice cracked in the open air. It had been so long since she'd spoken to anyone else that the sound startled her. "Do you hear me?" No answer. The figure paused, head turning slightly, and in that motion, something in her chest tightened. They had heard. She stepped closer. Beneath the worn hood, she could make out a face, pale, sharp, half covered in frost. A man, perhaps, or someone once human. His eyes reflected faint light like mirrors. "Are you awake?" she whispered. The man tilted his head, studying her as though the question made no sense. When he spoke, his voice came like wind across hollow metal. "I stayed. But the others, they dreamed." His words trembled, fractured, as if borrowed from a memory. Leora's pulse quickened. "There are others." He blinked slowly, eyes unfocused. There were, for a time. Then the hum stopped, and they turned to light. He lifted a hand, thin, trembling, and pointed toward the horizon, where faint columns of mist rose like distant spires. "They went that way. I stayed to watch." Leora took another cautious step. The earth beneath her feet glowed faintly again, threads of white tracing outward like roots. The man saw it too. His gaze dropped, and for the first time his expression shifted. A flicker of awe or fear. "You're still connected," he said. "It responds to you." She didn't deny it. "I think it's waking up." He gave a slow, shivering breath that might have been a laugh. "Then maybe we are too." A gust of wind swept through, tearing at the mist. For an instant, she saw what lay beyond him, the faint ruins of another camp, tents half collapsed, the remains of a fire long extinguished. A small world that had tried to endure. When she looked back, the man had begun to walk again, heading toward the distant columns. "Wait," she called. But he didn't turn. The wind swallowed her voice, leaving only the faint pulse underfoot, the rhythm of the earth answering her heartbeat. Leora stood there a long while, watching until the figure vanished into the white. Then she whispered, "If you're real, I'll find you." And somewhere far off, beneath the soil, the hum began again, softer this time, as if the world had heard and approved. By the time Leora reached the camp, the mist had thinned to ribbons drifting through the ruins. The faint smell of ash clung to the air, mingling with the metallic tang of thawing frost. There were 3 tents. One had collapsed completely, its canvas stiff with ice. Another still stood, though the poles bowed inward as if under the weight of years. The third, smaller, built from scavenged metal sheets, had been carefully reinforced. It seemed sealed with wax and thread. Whoever had lived here had known how to survive. Leora knelt by the fire pit. Inside, the ashes were still faintly warm. Not alive, but not ancient either. Days, perhaps weeks. She stirred them gently with a stick, finding the charred edges of paper, pages from a journal half burnt. She could still make out a few words. The hum fades. The frost no longer answers. She will come. The one who did not dream. She froze, The words felt too precise, too knowing. She set the fragment aside and began searching the rest of the camp. In the first tent, she found blankets carefully folded, a cracked mug, and a rusted tin filled with dried berries. In the second, a scattering of small machines, half-disassembled drones, their lenses clouded. One of them blinked faintly when she touched it, projecting a flicker of light against the canvas wall. For a heartbeat, she saw an image. A group of figures standing together in the square, faces blurred by static. Then it went dark. Leora sat back on her heels, pulse quickening. There had been others, and they had known something, had been waiting, maybe even watching. In the last shelter, the reinforced one, she found a map scratched into metal. Not a city plan, but a network of lines and nodes, the lattice drawn by hand. The pods were marked as circles of light, connected by thin veins. In the center was a single spiral marked with a symbol she recognized, the mirrored curve of the source. Next to it, scrawled in uneven letters, "The waking one alters the weave." Leora touched the spiral. The metal was warm. For a moment, she thought the silence would swallow her again. But then, somewhere deep beneath the ground, a sound answered. Not words, not music. A pulse, rising slowly in rhythm with her breath. When she opened her eyes, the frost had melted into a perfect spiral at her feet. Leora stared down at it, unease and wonder interwoven. "So you know me too," she murmured. Above, the sky had begun to lighten, not with dawn, but with a soft, silver radiance that felt almost alive. She packed what she could carry, the journal fragment, the map, a few supplies, and turned back toward the direction the man had gone. The world was no longer silent. It was waiting,